Dear students, I welcome you to online classes being offered by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Open University, Hyderabad. I am your tutor, academic counselor, SM Fasiullah. I'll be dealing with the structure of modern English third paper. This paper is prescribed for BA second year, third semester. As we know, we already started understanding the title of the paper in the previous class. And we have also looked at what we would be learning in this particular paper. If you recall, we looked at and understood, though in a very brief way, the contents, the topic that would be covered in this particular paper. We know that there are 5 different blocks which would cover various aspects which are related to this course or this paper, starting with sounds as one block, and then words as another block, and word formation as a third block. And after that, we'll be having some topics related to phrases, and then last on sentences. We also came to realize that in this paper, we were looking basically at language as a system of sounds, and then syntax and grammar, and what role they play in overall English. And this paper is very specific to modern English. We also came to realize that English is divided into 3 different stages or phases. That is how English has developed, right from Old English to Middle English and Modern English. Starting from 5th century to now, we have English, which is classified into 3 different periods or stages, right? One which starts from 5th century to almost 11th century. That what period English is called Old English, and from 11th to 15th century, that English is called Middle English, and now what we have is Modern English. So in this paper, we will be understanding the structure of modern English. I hope I am connected with you and you are able to hear me. Please give a thumbs up. Yes, thank you. Yeah, so as we discussed in the last class, we'll start with the first block, that is sounds. In this particular block, the whole purpose of this block is to understand language as a system of sounds and how language is produced. Like, what are the essential things that are required for the production of human language. We know that language is basically is production of is related to the sounds, right? And can we call everything that we produce as language, or in what way we produce language, and what distinguish language from other things? And also specifically when it comes to English, what are the different parts that are parts of body and parts of mouth that are involved in the production of sound? Can you make any guess? Which parts of our body are involved in production of sound?
Mouth, tongue, lungs, vocal cords.
Wonderful, wonderful. So some said that mouth is involved. Some say vocal cords are involved. You are right. You are absolutely right. But let's see in detail which parts are involved and in what way they help in the production of sound with specific reference to English. Okay. So we'll move on to the next important thing, which we will be talking about today. Okay. I hope you are able to see the screen and an illustration or a picture on your screen, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So when we look at the production of sound, right, there are 3 major categories, right? First one is articulatory system. The second is called phonatory system, and the last one is called respiratory system. So in the overall production of language, right, in the overall production of sound, three different parts or major areas of the body are involved, right? So first area where you have a portion of your mouth, right? If you look at this screen, if you look at the image, you know that the upper part of your head, right from above your chin, right, or above your what we otherwise call Adam's apple, right? Above it, whatever part is involved in the production of sound, that whole system is called articulatory system. Okay, and the part where we have our vocal cords, right? That particular part is called phonatory system. And the one below your Adam's apple or vocal cord are nothing but our lungs, right? Which are responsible for the air that we take in and the air we send out, right? So this lungs and other things within that is called respiratory system, right? Now, would you please tell me how we breathe?
Through lungs, respiratory system.
Yes. So where it all starts?
Nasal cavity.
Okay. If we know for the fact that we are alive because we breathe, right? So if we breathe, where does the air come from and how it enters our body and where it goes after it enters our body and how it comes out?
Through the nasal cavity.
Yes, it enters through nose, right? It enters through nose and passes through nasal cavity inside the windpipe. We have two different pipes in our neck region. One is responsible for food, right? Or which carries food down to stomach, and the other is a windpipe which takes air, right, which we take in from nose to lungs. Okay, so it enters through nose, passes through nasal cavity, and enters the windpipe, and then goes down to lungs. So if I have to show here on the screen, you see that this is air, right? You are taking from the atmosphere, and it's going inside your nose. Are you able to see the illustration that I am making?
Yes, sir.
So it is going right through nasal cavity, right, and coming down to what? Windpipe. And then here it is entering your lungs, and it is spreading, into different lungs we have. Okay, and then it gradually goes further inside the lungs. Okay. Okay, this is how the air is entering lungs, and then after it is processed, right? After the oxygen is taken, the carbon dioxide that is produced in the body is sent out, right, through the same way, but in a reverse direction. Okay, and then it is out. So the air is coming in, going to lungs, and then it's coming back, right? While entering, it is taking oxygen in. While coming out, it is taking carbon dioxide out. Okay, the process of taking air in is called inhale, right? Inhaling, right? Or inhale or inhaling. Then the process of sending the air out is called exhale, right? So we inhale and then exhale. We inhale oxygen along with other gases, and then we exhale carbon dioxide primarily with other gases. Okay. So entire air that we are taking in is not oxygen. There is a certain percentage of oxygen that is there in the air, maybe 20% or less, right? That goes inside, and while coming out, the oxygen is consumed or taken, used within the body, and whatever carbon dioxide is generated, that is sent back through the same passage, right? So the act of taking air in is called inhaling, right? And the act of sending out air is called exhaling, right? So if you observe that, we are able to produce any sound, irrespective of any language, any sound, right? Whether it's meaningful sound or non-meaningful sound. In doing so, right, we require energy, right? And that is, in this particular case, is breath force, right? We call it breath force, isn't it? Now you pay attention whether we are able to produce any sound as human beings while we are taking air in or while we are sending air out. What do you think? Will we do we produce sound when we are taking air inside or sending it outside? Can you make a guess?
Both.
Both?
While
okay.
exhaling.
No, we cannot produce a sound while breathing in. We can produce sound, or we produce sound only when we exhale. Okay, so at the time of taking air in, we cannot produce sound. So that is why the whole system, right, of our production of sound is called egressive airstream mechanism. What is it called? Egressive airstream mechanism. This is one complete concept. Egressive airstream mechanism. What does that mean? It means egressive means exhaling, right, while sending it out, right? So our sound production, right, our sound production of human beings is works in a mechanism that is egressive airstream mechanism, which means we can produce sound only when we are exhaling, not inhaling. And for production of sound, what we need? Air, right? And that is what we call breath force. So airstream. So the air that has entered, right, it has to go out. It has to go out. Every second, we take air in and send air out. So while sending it out, what we do is we start manipulating that from here onwards. Or you can also say, while sending the air out, we start making use of that air for so many other purposes. Right. So what we are basically doing, we are trying to use that air pressure, right? We also call this breath force, right, to generate different kind of sounds, right? And one what we say, major two major ways in which we use our vocal cord is while sending the air out is either we vibrate this or we don't vibrate this. Right. In some cases, the sound card, the sound box vibrates. Right? And in some cases, it won't. You do one thing. You just hold a hand on your head or put a couple of fingers on your throat, on your Adam's apple, and try to pronounce two different words I'm asking you to pronounce. For example, first word, pa, pa, pa. Are you giving a try? Pa?
Yes.
Pa, ba, pa, ba. Either you put a hand on your palm on your head, right? Or keep a few fingers on your throat and then pronounce first word, pa, pa, ba. You will notice that, while pronouncing pa, there is hardly any vibration. But if you pronounce ba, you see, there is some kind of vibration that you can feel. Have you given a try?
Yes, sir.
So, are you able to feel the vibration in ba?
Yes, sir.
But not
Yes,
in pa?
Yes.
So, which means while we are sending the air out, right, we are using it, that is air, either to vibrate the sound box or not to vibrate it. By sound box here, I mean vocal cords, right? You have strings. Tar ki tarah, there will be strings, right? So in sending the air out, sometimes you vibrate those, sometimes you don't, right? So that air goes out, and again, further, it can be, further manipulated, further, used in the, what we say, entire, mouth cavity, right? Or in the nasal cavity, or by the tongue. Right? There are other, parts within the mouth which can, manipulate or change, air, make use of air before it actually goes out, right? You also pay attention to this fact that, air not only goes through nose, sometimes it also goes through mouth, right? So, for example, when say, for example, one of your nose is blocked because of cold, how do you breathe? You partially breathe through the one which is open, and you compensate remaining air through mouth, right? Which means, though mouth is not a primary passage for air to come in or go out, but we complementarily use mouth as well. Okay. So the air, when it is coming in or going out, can also be manipulated by mouth, or it is also manipulated in the nasal cavity. For example, if you have to pronounce the word or the sound that is na, right? How do you do that? And where does the sound, is, getting manipulated? At which place it is getting manipulated? Obviously, it is in the nasal cavity, right? Na, right? Which means, when you pronounce na, you realize that, you are feeling some kind of vibration in the nasal cavity. Could you give it a try?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So similarly, for example, if you have to pronounce the word ba, what you do? Ba, which means you are holding the air within your mouth and releasing it suddenly. Ba, right? So air is not smoothly flowing. You are controlling the way air is coming out, whether it is coming out from mouth or nasal cavity. So there are two different passages from which the air can come in and go out. So while it is going out, you are manipulating the air both in the mouth cavity as well as in the nasal cavity. So first we are manipulating the air in the, what we say, sound box, that is vocal cord, either to vibrate the vocal cords or not to vibrate it. And then it is either manipulated at nasal cavity or mouth or both. Okay. So this is how the whole mechanism works, right? And this whole mechanism of air coming in and going out, right? While going out, we as human beings are able to manipulate it or make use of it for production of sound. So that is why it is called egressive airstream mechanism. I hope it is making sense to you. Are you able to understand these things?
Yes, sir.
Am I being, delivering things in a normal pace so that you understand?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. So we are trying to understand the mechanism, the system in which we are able to produce sound, right? So in order to produce sound, what we need? Do we need water? Or we need some food? What do you need to produce sound?
Food. Energy.
No, we need air, right? That is why it is called aggressive airstream mechanism. With the, what we say, obviously we need energy, we need food to survive, but in order to produce sound, we need air. Without air, we cannot produce sound. Leave alone producing sound, we will die if we do not breathe. Do you agree?
Yes.
Yes. So air is not only essential for our survival as human being, it is also essential to produce sound. The whole system in which we are able to produce sound is called aggressive airstream mechanism, because we are making use of air, right? And while releasing the air, we are able to produce sound. So that is why it is called aggressive airstream mechanism. Now, once we have understood how sound is being produced, right? We'll also look at different parts of our this mouth, right? Neck and lungs. They and the parts that are involved in production of sound. Okay. Now there are numbers here marked, right? If you look at this number 1, right? What is it called? Nasal cavity. Okay. Nasal cavity. So nose is basically an organ, but within that you have nasal cavity. What is the second part involved in production of sound? Teeth. Right? We will also try to understand how each of these is able to play their role in production of sound. For example, nasal cavity, I demonstrated to you how nasal cavity is responsible for production of, say, one particular sound, that is na sound, right? N sound or na sound. Okay. So we have nasal cavity, then teeth. Okay. And it's actually teeth rich. Okay. Not teeth as such, because teeth would be, somewhere here. Okay. So the second one is teeth rich. If I have to tell you in local language, you have one kind of wall just behind your teeth, right? If you touch behind your teeth, you'll find that there is some kind of a wall, right? A boundary kind of thing that is of your soft muscles, right? Can you touch it? Soft part?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that particular part is called ridge. Okay. And then you have, after that, hard palate, right? If you touch your finger in the middle of your mouth on the upper part, right? That is a hard palate. And a little behind it, there is a soft palate. If you try to touch it, right, you may vomit. Okay? It is not only soft part, soft palate, but it is also a sensitive part. If you touch it, you may get a feeling of, or a sensation of vomiting. Right? That is what is called soft palate. And it is also otherwise called what? Velum. This part. Right? It is also called velum. And the last part within that passage is ula, right? Or ula, whatever you pronounce it. Okay. And after that, what you have? Teeth, right? Upper teeth and lower teeth. This is upper teeth. This is lower teeth. And also you have lip, upper lip and lower lip. Right? Are you with me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you. So then after that, what you have? Blade. What is this? This entire thing, right from here to till here, what is this? This is a tongue. This is tongue, right? So you have 3 different parts of a tongue. This is tip of the tongue. Right? Can you see in my video? Yeah, this is the tip of the tongue. Then you have middle of the tongue. You can easily understand what is the middle part of the tongue. And then you have last part, that is root of the tongue, right? Which is basically back of the tongue. Okay. Sorry, back of the tongue. And root would be even further down that area. So this is the root. Right? 11th one is the root of the tongue. So you have tip of the tongue, which is also called blade. You have front of the tongue, you have back of the tongue. And then also root of the tongue. So not just 3, but there are 4 different parts which are involved in parts of tongue which are involved in production of different sounds. So why we are not telling just only one tongue as one particular organ that is involved in production of sound? We are specifying 4 different regions within the tongue, and these 4 different regions play some role in production of some kind of sound. So that is why we have these 4 different regions. And if you go to 12th one, it is called pharynx. And you have epiglottis, right? And then after that, you have larynx. And 15th one is most important one, that is sound box. The sound box itself, that is vocal cords. And if you look at that 16th one, this is a what? This is a food pipe, and your windpipe is to the other side, right? And these particular branches, right, which connects your windpipe with the lungs, is called bronchial tubes, right? And you also have ribs, the soft, curvy bones that you find in your chest, okay? And this is obviously the lungs itself. So there are as many as how many? 20 different parts of our body, especially upper body, that are involved in production of human sound, production of human sounds, right? And this sound is responsible for language, right? And within language, you have one language, that is English. Okay. So in the following classes, we will try to look at different English sound. So now could you please tell me where is the sound box in the figure?
Fifteen, sir. Number 15.
It is number 15th.
Vocal cords.
Okay, vocal cords is the sound box, right? Very good. You are right. You are right. Where is the tip of the tongue?
9.
Tip of the tongue.
8.
8. Very good. This is very good. Okay. Okay. And where is the windpipe?
17.
17. Very good. Very good. And where is soft palate?
4th.
Good. And where is the hard palate?
3.
3, right? Very good. Very good. And where is epiglottis?
13.
Very good. Very good. Okay. What is 6B?
Lower teeth.
Very good. Very good. So you are paying a lot of attention in the classroom. Thank you.
Yes.
And now the system, right, in which we take breathe in and produce sound is called what is it called?
Aggressive air system.
Aggressive, right? Aggressive, not aggressive. If you say aggressive, that's a different word and it means something else. It is aggressive airstream mechanism. Airstream mechanism. Air stream means, right? Yeah. Air which is flowing, right? So that is why we are calling it as air stream. So it is aggressive airstream mechanism, right? यहाँ से lungs से लेके ऊपर तक, यानी up to your mouth, you have withheld air, that is stream of air, and you are making use of that stream of air while ejecting it to produce sound. That is why it is called airstream, aggressive airstream mechanism. Okay. Now tell me, in production of human sound, which lung plays role, whether right or left? Which lung?
Left, sir.
Okay. Is it left that plays a role in production of sound, or right, or both?
Both.
Yes. Both.
Secondary function. Yes, both the lungs contribute in production of sound. Why? Because when air comes in, it equally goes to two different lungs, right? If you look at this pipe, right, whatever is coming here is equally getting distributed, right? So the air goes to two different lungs, and when it comes back equally from both the lungs. So that is why both the lungs play their part or their role in production of sound, human sound. So what is the first place where production of sound generates, or where air is being manipulated or used for production of sound? Which is that first point? When the air is coming out of, going out of lungs, where is the first point where air is being, used for production of sound? It is at this region, vocal cord, right? When the air is going out, first, manipulation or first, use of air stream in production of sound happens here, whether it will be voiced or voiceless, right? It is either voiced or voiceless. So while the air goes out at first stage, right, where air could be used or manipulated, that is sound box, that is our vocal cords. Either that voice vibrates the vocal cords or doesn't vibrate the vocal cord. Based on that, we'll have some sounds which are voiced, some which are voiceless. Okay, so when it goes from here, right, so it could be manipulated here and here. So there are three different terminals or three places where air is being manipulated in production of sound. First is the sound box or the vocal cords. Second is mouth, and third is nose. So nasal cavity. So these are the three different places where air that should go out freely is not going out freely, but is being used by our body for production of sound. I hope it is making sense to you. I hope you are understanding these things.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Now you tell me, can you speak while talking? While breathing in?
No, sir.
No, because that is not how our system works. We cannot talk while breathing in. We can talk only when breathing out. While inhaling, we cannot talk. While exhaling only, we can talk. Okay? Because talking requires energy, right? That energy comes through, that pressure comes through air. Okay? So when you are taking air in, you cannot talk. You can talk only when you exhale or breathe out. Okay, what else in this basics you have not understood? Is there anything that you have not understood? Or shall we move on?
Yes, sir.
Move on, sir.
Move on, sir.
Thank you so much. So what are the major organs that are involved in production of sound? What are the major organs involved in production of sound?
Vocal cord.
Nose. I'm talking about organs, right? Lungs.
Lung. Nose, lungs.
Tongue.
Tongue.
Right? Vocal cord. Oh, sorry, vocal. Vocal cord. Right? We also call this, sound box. Human sound box, basically. So these are some major things that are involved in production of sound. So when we say nose, we have nose and nasal cavity, right? If we say mouth or tongue, right? Also mouth, basically. So these are the major organs that are involved in production of sound. If you look at different parts, then there are as many as how many? 20 parts that are involved in production of human sound, starting from nose, nasal cavity, up to lungs. Okay. What is vocal cords otherwise called? This region?
Sound box.
Sound box.
Adam's apple. Adam's
apple.
This elevated part you see here, right? The curved part, which is basically this sharp edge kind of thing. Yeah, that is what is called Adam's apple. Okay, and that is where the sound box is. That is the exact location where inside our windpipe or near our windpipe, you have this particular sound box.
Vocal cord.
Yeah, vocal cords. Because why it is called vocal cords? Because the sound box is like this, roughly like this. Sorry, I'm not able to write correctly. Let me write something like this, right? And we have cords connected with this. So more or less like it looks like onion, right? Yeah. So these are the cords. Sorry. These are the strings, right? These are the strings, right? In a guitar, you have strings. Similarly, in a guitar, you have this kind of strings, right? So similarly, in our vocal box, or that is sound box, we have these strings which while vibrating create different kinds of sounds. Okay. If you have any questions, you can ask related to this, and in our next class, we'll take up other topic. Okay. Do you have any questions related to this?
No, sir.
Is it
next? When will be our next class?
Sir.
You should tell me when is our next class.
Next week, Saturday.
Next Saturday, right?
Yes, sir.
This other picture may be of help. Just we'll quickly look at this picture also. We have nose, upper teeth. This is much better, right? This picture is much better, but it doesn't have everything that we saw in the previous image. So lower lips, upper lips, these are the teeth, lower and upper. This particular region is called alveolar ridge, right? Okay, and then you have hard palate, soft palate, uvula, and pharynx. This is glottis, and larynx and pharynx. Okay. Yeah, this is a tongue, which is tip of the tongue, center of the tongue, right, root of the tongue, back of the tongue. There are multiple parts. Okay, so in a nutshell, this is what is the region where majority of air is manipulated in production of sound, and each involvement of each different part creates a different sound. Why we are going in detail about this part is because each the involvement of each part, if the back of the tongue is involved, a different kind of sound is produced. If the alveolar region is involved, then some other kind of sound is produced. If the nasal cavity is involved, I think it's not mentioned here, nasal cavity, right? If nasal cavity is involved, some other kind of sound is produced, right? So in case of na sound, because nasal cavity is involved, na sound is produced, right? And in other different sounds, there is no involvement of nasal cavity. Right? Similarly, if lower teeth is involved, then one kind of sound is produced. So why we have all these classification of different parts? Because each part plays some role or the other in production of different sound. And when it comes to English, we have how many different kinds of sounds? 44 different sounds. Okay, which includes 20 vowel sounds and 24 consonant sounds. Okay, so the total 44 sounds are there in English language. Okay, we are not talking about letters. We have 26 letters. Out of that, 5 are vowel letters. But when it comes to sound, we have 44. Okay, so hopefully in our next class, we will talk about another topic, right? After parts of this, after organs of speech, we'll directly go into vowels and consonants. Okay. Hope this is of help.
Excuse me,
today.
sir.
Yes. Yes, Sana.
So just now I came to know that we can speak only when we are exhaling.
Yes.
And the process is called as aggressive eight-stream passage. But
Mechanism,
here,
yeah.
when I referred, I came to know that ingressive. Then what's the difference between aggressive and aggressive, sir?
Aggressive is where you are releasing the air. And if you are, I explain you about inhaling and exhaling, right?
No, sir, not about that.
Yeah, the technical
sounds which we are producing. Yes, sir.
Yeah, the human sound,
which are
human
be
language
produced
sound.
to exhaling.
Yeah, the sounds we are
That
able
is
to
you
produce.
called as aggressive.
Aggressive, yes. It is called aggressive.
And here it also mentioned that sounds can be produced by manipulating both exhaled and inhaled.
No, yeah, there could be possible, but when we are talking about language, right, we are talking about meaningful sounds, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so we are talking about human language sounds which are used as human language. Those sounds, especially related to English, right, are produced only when you are exhaling, not inhaling. And that is why the whole human thing is called aggressive air-stream mechanism. Hope I answer your question. Any further thoughts?
Sir.
Nothing? Okay.
No, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. Hopefully we'll meet next week, maybe on Saturday, to talk about vowels and consonants. Okay. And if time permits, we'll also go to these smaller, which may not require much explanation, because as I told you, these have always been part of grammar, which has been taught to us in schools and in colleges. So it would be easier for us to understand these things. Okay, so we'll try to quickly cover the syllabus. Okay, thank you so much. And before before we exit, I would like to take one screenshot so that there is a record of our today's class. Okay, just a second. Thank you so much. Okay, see you next week.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. Okay? We'll only cover all important topics.